Hey guys, so recently I started playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and when I first started playing it, I wasn't sure how I felt about it. It had the visual appeal of a Dark Souls, Elden Ring style of game, with some of the gameplay elements that made it feel kind of like a Skyrim type of game. And by the way, if you're a Dragon's Dogma 2 fan and also one of those Bethesda haters, please don't take it personally that I in any way related Dragon's Dogma 2 to Skyrim. But as I started playing as a lowly mage, I wasn't sure if the game was going to be for me. The combat left something to be desired at the beginning. It was, for lack of a better word, a little boring. I was a low-level mage with 2 spells, a little magic bolt that I could spam with the square button, and a fire attack that I could charge up and cast. And neither one of them were overly satisfying to use on enemies. Nevertheless, I of course did not judge this game by the first 5 minutes of gameplay and combat, and as I progressed through the game, I finally unlocked my first lightning spell. And oh boy, is that when the fun really emerged. It was the first time in the game where I truly felt powerful, like a powerful mage. I could eradicate a small group of goblins by calling down lightning on them. It was so cool. I even played a massive part in downing a cyclops, again, with all of the massive lightning. It was the first point in the game where I truly started to feel powerful. And that made me think about other times in video games where you hit that moment where you feel truly powerful inside of a game. You know that moment I'm talking about, like in Dungeons & Dragons when a wizard gets fireball and is not only a menace to society, but also to your party. Or in games like Pokemon, where you go from learning Ember and Water Gun and these little dinky attacks to where you get Flamethrower and Thunderbolt or Fire Blast. The moment where you are truly able to say, watch out world, I'm here and I'm ready to cause some devastation. So here are 7 times video games made us feel truly powerful. If you have any times in video games that I didn't mention, let me know down in the comments. If you enjoy this video or just want to show your support, make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notifications for new videos like this. And if you're not sure of any other ways that video games made you feel powerful, just comment down your favorite emoji because your comments are a massive help to the channel and helps with engagement. With that out of the way, let's get on with the list. Now for entry number 1, we have one of the later games that I have played where you have these certain levels of feeling powerful before the game crushes you back down at higher difficulties. Yes, in Helldivers 2, you start off with arguably some very powerful abilities like the Orbital Strike, the ability to just rain down devastation upon bugs or mechs. And it makes you feel powerful, but then you turn the difficulty slider up just a touch, and then that Orbital Strike just doesn't do enough to really make you feel that way anymore. You start to get tanks that move just a little too fast, or hulks that move just a little too quickly for your orbital strike to kill them, or you are overwhelmed with tons of rocket boys, and you just need something with a little extra punch. However, all of that starts to change once you hit level 15 and level 20 in Helldivers 2, and you unlock the Orbital Laser and the Orbital Rail Cannon Strike. The Orbital Laser is probably one of my favorite offensive stratagems in the game because it's an easy way to just look at a group of people, a base even if you will, and just say, I don't think you need to exist anymore. And they just don't. At the time of recording, it has the ability to destroy almost every single structure or enemy in the game. Now, of course, it does take some time to destroy certain enemies, so if you have a couple of tanks, it's not going to go over and destroy, the entire base. But that's okay, because up until this point, if you saw a tank in Helldivers 2, or maybe if you saw a Bile Titan, you were instilled with a level of fear that an Orbital Strike or your Eagle Cluster Bomb, you just weren't ready for that level of enemy. But once you have the laser, you no longer have to be afraid. I mean, we both know that's not true because you're always afraid in Helldivers 2. Because you know when you destroy the tank, just another tank is gonna fly in. But regardless, you now know that you can handle that tank. You can handle that base. Hell, you can just hot drop on top of a base and just wipe it out at the very beginning of the mission. The Orbital Rail Cannon similarly is an unlimited way, the laser only has 3 uses, of looking at any enemy and just saying, could you just go away, please? And they do. Well, for the most part, until your rail cannon misses or locks onto something you didn't want it to, but we're not talking about that right now. Unlocking the laser and then the rail cannon are truly 2 of the times that I felt the most powerful in Helldivers 2, and I think I'm at level 33 now, and I have not felt a power jump of that magnitude since. So the next time you see a planet that is bereft of freedom, rain the freedom down in the form of a laser. Now, it wouldn't be a list video if we didn't make one of our entries about Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, you know, the game that kind of started the whole channel off. And at the beginning of both Star Wars Knights of the Old Republics 1 and 2, the game does a pretty good job of making you feel pretty small and insignificant. I mean, at the beginning of KOTOR 1, I don't think anyone would argue that you are definitively worse than your NPC companion at combat. Karth may be whiny, but he is kind of a badass. And in KOTOR 2, you may start off as a Jedi, but you start off as a Jedi that like can barely wield the Force. Like we're talking one shock and your Force bar is already at 0. So the game has a good way of humbling you at starting you off at the very beginning of your career with a lot of room to improve. However, all of that changes when you hit level 18 and you unlock Force Storm. Now I know there's gonna be people of you out there that play KOTOR and you're like, oh, but Force Storm's not even that good of an ability and I like insert other power here and I'm gonna make my own video. Shut up, nobody cares. Force Storm is a badass power and you just don't like it because it's popular and you wanna seem cool by picking the power that no one else picks. Well, shut up. Force Storm is badass and everyone knows it. Because power isn't always about actual power, it can sometimes be about perceived levels of power. And there is nothing more badass or powerful than walking onto the surface of Onderon, there being just a collection of people that are doing a riot and you just shove your hand up in the air, throw out a little bit of lightning, and they all die. If you're looking for the power trip that you know a video game can deliver, Force Storm is the one that's going to deliver it. It's the equivalent of being at college and thinking, man, I have to do all of this homework and then realizing, wait, ChatGPT, do my homework. I bet that if you said ChatGPT, how should I kill all of these people in KOTOR? It's going to say, use Force Storm. Is it my personal favorite power? Probably not. I like Force Wave just because of the idea of it blasting everyone backwards. It's a cool little effect, but Force Storm is undeniably the most badass power in the game, and it just surges you with this level of ferocity that you weren't sure was possible. And you know deep in your heart, when you want to feel powerful, you always pick up Force Storm. Now for entry number 3, I know in the introduction that we talked about Pokemon and you do feel a little underpowered in the beginning because you get Ember and you get Water Gun and they're a little underwhelming, one might say. I mean, even their graphic options, going back to Generation 1, 3 little drips of water? Like, come on now, that's a little pathetic. And I know we talked about getting more powerful power attacks for your Pokemon, and that does make you feel powerful, but I would argue that there is even one more thing that occurs in, I think, every single Pokemon game that is the pinnacle of Pokemon trainer power, the power that you cannot get above inside of Pokemon, and that is going to be getting the Master Ball. For me personally, this power is best represented in Generation 2. You have the legendary dogs that run across all of the Johto region, and you want to catch them, but it's really, really hard to. You spend all of your time tracking them down, trying to find them, and then you get like one toss of a fastball, and then they run away. They are undoubtedly infuriating to try to capture. But not with the Master Ball. The Master Ball gives you this level of power that any Pokemon you want in the game, any Pokemon, well, I mean, I guess with the exception of another trainer's Pokemon, which is stupid. Can we go Pal World on Pokemon with the Master Ball and just let us capture a trainer? Let us capture another trainer's Pokemon. I digress. When you get the Master Ball, any Pokemon, whether it's a level 2 Rattata or a level 100 Mewtwo, any wild Pokemon you can see can be yours. I know that there are moves and there are mega evolutions and there are giant crystals you can put on top of your Pokemon nowadays, but I would still argue that none of them give you that level of power, that level of satisfaction of knowing that any Pokemon you want, any Pokemon you choose, you can now own with no hassle at all. That's why I'm going to say the pinnacle of power when inside of Pokemon, wow, that was some alliteration, is going to be the Master Ball. Now for our 3 entries so far, we've talked about things that the game gives you or the things that you unlock inside of a game. And so for entry number 4, we are going to go a slightly different route in the game of Rocket League. Now, Rocket League is one of those games that people of all skill levels can enjoy. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be a diamond or a grand champ to enjoy Rocket League. Because if you're a bronze player, you can play against other bronze players and just, not use free cam and just follow along and just hit the ball and play car soccer. And you can do that and you can have a good time, but you're not great at the game when you're playing that way. You've seen the clips of people on TikTok playing Rocket League and doing these really cool moves in the air. And there are things like the wall to air dribble and things like that are really cool. But I would argue that nothing gives you the level of power inside of Rocket League like that first feeling when you are finally able to do an aerial. Being able to consistently hit the ball in the air and do an aerial is what separates that beginner tier with that intermediate tier of players. And when you're in that level, when you're in that bronze, early silver, and you are just trucking along with those people that are staying on the ground, if a ball gets it up in the air, they wait underneath it. The level of power you feel when you're saying, no, sir, I don't have to be like you. I can go get that ball, and you do go get it. That feeling is unlike any I've maybe felt in any game. And sure, it's impressive to see the people, take the ball from the wall into the air and drop it into the net or carry it across the field, do those really cool things. But here's the thing, you can defend against those with a simple aerial, even if you don't know how to do those things or you haven't practiced enough. But it's pretty hard to defend against an aerial if you've never been able to do one yourself. So the ability to do an aerial, to take yourself up into the air, to hit the ball and score a goal is one of the biggest power surges, in my opinion, inside of Rocket League. And it's that moment when you're able to do that, you watch the replay, you don't skip that replay when you do your first aerial and you think, man, I'm not garbage anymore. So it may not be something the game gives you. It may not be something you unlock, but the ability to do an aerial is an extraordinarily powerful moment inside of your Rocket League journey. Now for entry number 5, returning to things that the video game gives you, let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3 and the Deathstalker's Mantle, which you hear the name and you're like, damn, I know I'm gonna be powerful when I get this item. It just has an aura of power and coolness just in the name. And indeed, that does follow through to the actual effects of the item. If you're unaware of what the Deathstalker Mantle is, it is a cape that you can unlock if you are playing as the Dark Urge. I won't go into necessarily how you unlock it because there are of course story spoilers involved with that. Needless to say, you get it relatively early on inside of Act 1, and its power does not wane throughout the entirety of the game. It is broken as hell throughout all of Act 2 and all of Act 3. And what does the Deathstalker Mantle do, you might ask? Once per turn, when you kill an enemy, you get to become invisible. I personally, and I feel like a lot of people did this, played as a rogue during my Dark Urge playthrough. And let me tell you something, I could single-handedly, solo, wipe out the entire Goblin camp in Act 1. I could wipe out the entire Moonrise Towers by myself in Act 2 with just the help of the Deathstalker's Mantle. It may be a little time consuming, but all you have to do is sneak into wherever you want to be, launch a sneak attack on someone, you kill them, you go invisible. Maybe you don't kill them. That's fine. You shoot them, you become invisible, you move a little bit away so they can't find you, you kill the next person, repeat. As long as you keep killing and keep moving, you keep becoming invisible, and there's nothing to stop your reign of merciless slaughter. Unless there was a boss fight involved, I don't think there was anything that could take away the power that I felt when I had on the Deathstalker Mantle and a couple of hand crossbows. So if you haven't done your Dark Urge playthrough yet, I invite you to give it a try and enjoy the power you feel when you unlock this cape. For my penultimate entry, this one was kind of hard. I had several items to pick from, but I ended up going with whenever you unlock Tear Blast arrows inside of Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, Horizon Zero Dawn does not try to make you feel inferior in any way. Aloy is undoubtedly a complete badass, and the game doesn't try to make you feel any different throughout the entire game. The game tries to humble you a little bit by nerfing some of the things in Horizon Forbidden West. But in Horizon Zero Dawn, Aloy is already pretty powerful, pretty badass throughout the entire game. However, you reach a new level of power in Horizon Zero Dawn when you unlock Tear Blast arrows. These are sonic arrows that do massive amounts of tear damage. They can rip the armor off of enemies. They can rip off weapons off of enemies. They are a great mechanism of leaving these massive, giant behemoths just completely vulnerable. Oh, hello, Mr. Thunderjaw. What a nice cannon you have on your back. It would be a shame if I tore it off. Or, oh, look at that storm bird up in the sky. It's so majestic, it's gonna kill me. Just kidding. I have Tear Blast arrows. I'm gonna rip off all of its little engines on its wings. Now, obviously in Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West, using the right arrow type, whether it's shock, freezing, whatever you have, there are definitely uses for all of those against various different types of enemies, but the Tear Blast arrow in specifically Horizon Zero Dawn is completely broken. It's useful against basically every type of enemy. It can knock down humans. It is badass, it is powerful, and there is not another way to feel, especially when you're facing these massive mechs that could crush you without a thought. The Tear Blast arrow is the equalizer, and it makes you feel insanely powerful. Now for our final entry, it would be a crime if I did not include the single most broken item, in my opinion, inside of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Before I say what it is, I want you to comment down below, what do you think the most broken item is inside of Skyrim? I'll give you a second. Don't cheat. All right, here we go. Now, everyone talks in Skyrim about how badass it is to be a stealth archer. You know, it's the trope. It's the Skyrim trope. Oh, a stealth archer. Oh, they hide. Oh, they do sneak attack damage. Oh, look at them with their Daedric bows and their Daedric arrows. Oh, they think they're so cool. Ha! Ha, I say. I laugh in the face of your stealth archer. Because there is nothing more broken in the game than getting the shrouded gloves from the Dark Brotherhood in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. If you aren't aware of what the shrouded gloves are, what have you been doing since 2011? Go play Skyrim. But enough, the shrouded gloves give you double backstab damage. Now this only becomes truly powerful though when you combine it with the sneak power that gives you 15 times damage when you backstab with a dagger. Let's do some basic maths here. That means you get 30 times sneak attack damage whenever you stab someone in the back with a dagger while wearing the shrouded gloves. There is almost nothing in the game, assuming you have a well-leveled up dagger, that can withstand the might of 30 times damage with a sneak attack from, say, a Daedric dagger. The Blade of Woe, sorry, Mr. Hill Giant, let me just cut your little Achilles tendon and you fall like Achilles himself. And here's the thing, a lot of these things we've talked about inside of the game, they have their weaknesses. The rail cannon, there are too many enemies attacking you. Force Storm, bosses kind of laugh because they save against it. The Master Ball, it's not Pal World, you can't capture trainers. The Deathstalker Mantle, a boss is gonna put a stop to this. But in Skyrim, even a boss will shake in his boots whenever you approach. Well, I guess he won't, because he won't know you're coming. But whenever you approach with the shrouded gloves. And the hilarity behind the fact that you can walk up to most bosses inside of the game and just stab them in the foot with a knife if they don't know you're there, and they just die instantly. It sometimes almost can make the game boring because of how ultra powerful you have become with the shrouded gloves and, say, the Blade of Woe. I saved this for the last because I think out of everything I have mentioned, this is the thing that has made me feel the most powerful inside of any video game, maybe ever. I play video games because I love a good power trip that I don't get in real life, and nothing delivers like the shrouded gloves. All right, so that's going to wrap up our list. That's going to be 7 times video games made you feel really powerful. Did you have anything that I didn't think of? Let me know down in the comments. Share your ideas. If you don't have anything to share, just put your favorite emoji down in the comments because your comments really help with the algorithm and with engagement. While you're at it, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you get notifications for new videos like this. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in a later video.